had 127 stitches in his face, just from my hands. I have not gripped a pump action in that mugging bag. So I would say to anybody that says prison is easy, well, it's easy if you're going in there because you've got all your pals in there from your area and they're already drug dealing in your drug dealing. You're getting more money than you did outside. You're not living with your parents because you're banged up in prison. So if any of you lot think, I'm going to sell a bit of drugs, I'm going to go and do this, I'm going to go and do that, prison's easy, get in there and get a spoon up your arse.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the BlueTick show. Opposite me today, I've got a special guest. 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Kevin Lane, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We finally got here in the end. Finally done it.
I'm more special needs.
Well, listen, there's a lot of people who've just heard that opening line, 20 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit. And there's plenty of people who say, I didn't do it. But you genuinely didn't do it.
Didn't do it. The book illustrates that as well as a number of leading professionals in the country within the criminal justice system, barristers, papers, journalists who have reported on the same. So it's not me just voicing my disgruntledness. The fact is, it's fact.
And obviously, listen, most of the people watching this may know who you are, some don't know who you are. So let's throw it back a little bit and tell the audience what actually happened. What did you get arrested for? What was the lead up to it?
I came back from Tenerife. I'd had some problems in Tenerife with some doormen over there. It weren't safe on the island for me. I was one against hundreds. I was in a bar. I lived out there for 6 months, and I was in a steakhouse actually, and some of the bar staff, and it was a private golf club, of course. Yeah. They were talking about drugs, and my children heard them and asked what they were talking about, so I complained to the manager. With that, I've got a great big bleeding, big barrel chest fella, great big head, arms the size of my legs, sitting there. Another geezer called Eric Bristow, not the dart player, and the manager. So I'm voicing my concern, and this fella says, calm down. I said, it's got fuck all to do with you. I said, to stay out of it. But you can imagine what I looked like bleeding in 1994. Baby face, fresh looking lad, brush over hair.
How old was you at this point?
94, I was born in 67, so 70, you got 27.
20, yeah.
All right, so...
you're young.
Young kid, 11 stone 7, no weight on me. He's giving it to me, so he didn't like that. And then it's carried on. He's gone, if you carry on, mate, we're going to have to go outside. I went, no problem. Jumped up. He's jumped up. It's gone off. That's ended. He's been helped out.
He's been helped out.
The police came with armed machine guns. They don't mess around out there, Mikey, right? Yeah. So they cordoned the road, the golf club getting out. So I've got the missus and the kids with me at the time. So they're looking for a single white male.
Yeah. I've
got 2 kids and the missus, no, they can go through. Gone. Got out. I went to one of the fellas' car showrooms the next day and said, right, whoever he wants it, I'll have it with him again. I've got the missus and the kids here. Right, he's got a massive security on the island, security company on the island. So let's just put this to bed. How do you want to have it? He said, he can't. He's gone back to England. He said, he's in hospital at the minute. He's got, he had 127 stitches in his face. That's just from my hands.
Fuck me.
All right. And I might give him a nut a couple of times and all. But I was shocked, really. I thought, bloody hell. He said, he's going back to England for convalescence. And when he comes back, as it was being carried out, he was shouting, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. And he said, he's coming back to kill you. I thought, I've got the kids and the missus on here. All right. I said, well, maybe I'll go back to England and find him. So I got an exit visa. My mate said he lost his passport. I thought, well, they're coming looking for me at the golf club. They've carried him off to hospital. I'm in trouble here. If they arrest me, I'm banged up in Spain. So I used an exit visa to get out off the island, come back to England. I came back to England in October, and then got arrested in January for the murder.
What's going on, guys? This video is being brought to you by Maurice Andrews Solicitors. As you're all aware, we've done a season 2 all about crime. If you watch that all and you're in any situation like that and need help getting out of this situation, reach out to Maurice Andrews Solicitors and see if there's something they can help you with.
Remember, there's a defense for every offense.
So you missed a crucial part out there. What actually happened?
So when I came back from Tenerife, I used to, like yourself, nice cars. A car can sometimes be your office, can't it?
Yeah.
If you're travelling about a bit. So I had a nice car before I went. I've always had nice cars since I was a kid. When I was 15, 16, I bought a 911 Porsche. And that needed doing up actually, but I still spent the money on to do it up. I was working for myself at that age. By the time I was 18, I had a lot of nice cars. I paid 27 grand for a car at Henley's in Berkeley Square when I was 18. That would be a few quid now.
Yeah.
All right.
It's different money back
There's
then.
a lot of money back then though. You think at Henley's in Berkeley Square, 911 Turbo. But anyway, that's another story. So the car I had was stolen the night I got it.
Okay.
I had an immobiliser on it. I took a part off the engine. They still managed to nick the car using a ram raid. I went up to the traveller camp that was near. Said, you've drove round onto this estate, which was private, right where I live. You've looked at the car. That night it's gone missing. I said, you ain't living in caravans where you got my car. It's as simple as that. You give me my car back. Or is there going to be some problems with your caravans? I'll just set them alight. All right, simple as that. I had a can of petrol on me, so they knew I was serious. All right.
And did people know you? Was you well known in the area?
No, I moved a long way away.
Okay.
But what they realised is I've walked onto a traveller camp and said, banged on their door and said,
it takes a man with a big pair of balls to do that. It's not a...
I've got a big pair of bollocks. They hang right down.
Fuck's sake.
Like some Burgess quoted me on that, but I don't mind having a long pair of bollocks, love.
Back to it. You walked in there with the petrol, told them X, Y, and Z. Did they give you the car back?
He said, I'll get your car back for you. I'll pay for the damage.
Sweet. What's going on, guys? If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you scroll down. We're now live on Spotify, so you can watch us while you're driving, listen to us while you're in the gym. Pretty much just listen to us anywhere. And make sure you give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Thank you.
No problem. He did that. In the meantime, I was in the car. Didn't get the car back straight away, except going to a garage and whatnot. I then started to look at other cars. A couple of them weren't too high mileage for the money they wanted. New cars, of course.
Yeah.
And then a car was offered to loan me. So there's a car here you can borrow, blah, blah, blah. So I went down, picked this bleeding car up. It was an old banger. But I was going out then. I travelled down from Potton, which is up near Bedfordshire.
Okay, yeah.
It's that way. Potton's a little village where they do Potton homes, if anyone may know that. So I then gone out. I've travelled down from Potton to London, gone out with my family and friends. As I've gone back, I've dropped the car back because it was blowing smoke, it was leaking oil. I thought, yes, it is an old banger. Of course, the person who lent it to me, he didn't know I'd be going out with my family and kids in it. All right? So I gave the car back. The car's then been in my possession. It's got my kids' fingerprints in it and such. The murder then happened on... So I took the car back on the 7th. And the car was being driven by another male who matched the description of the murders, but it wasn't me because the police officer knows me and said that was not Kevin Lane driving that car.
So he said it?
Yes, it's a woman who said it. She said it wasn't Kevin Lane driving that car, all right? The murder happened. The car that was used in the murder was a BMW. However, it was a 323i BMW because a BMW mechanic who was walking past it when it was parked at the scene, walked around it, thought it was odd, picked out the colour of the interior, picked out the description of the wheels, etc., etc. He gave that to the police and he even gave photographs of the wheels. The car that was at the murder scene had the number plate on from the car that I was loaned. And that's how come I got pulled into it.
So, wow. And obviously the track record of the fight you had prior in Tenerife.
They wanted to know, they said I came out of the country to commit a murder under a false ID. I said, well, why did I go into Ricet police station some time before over a motoring incident if I was trying to avoid being... Of course, they suppress all of that evidence, don't they? They suppressed everything, i.e. some of the information that I've just given you now.
So your alibi, when you went to court, obviously, what was the... Because you know in your heart, I haven't done this.
Yeah.
So you're walking into court saying, you know what, I'm not going away. I haven't actually done this crime. How the fuck did they put you inside for 20 years?
So I got arrested on the 10th of January, held for a number of days. I knew something was up then by the line of their question. I knew something was up by I was asked to be taken out of a police station to have my fingerprints taken after my solicitor has gone home.
Okay, you know something's a bit strange now.
Yeah, so I'd already had one set of prints taken. What happened was, during the interview, the police officer says, we'll stop the interview and take you into prints. So we're going to take you in fingerprints at the end of this interview. My solicitor's gone, we'll stop the interview now then.
Yeah.
They never. They carried on with the interview, let him go out, and then took me out of my cell for the fingerprints. I thought, well, that's strange. Why have you let him go home, but I'm not talking to him? Yeah. So during the fingerprinting, they said, you left or right-handed? Well, I'm right-handed. Well, I'll give him a left, don't I? You're never going to give him a right.
Standard.
Left-handed printer turned up on the bag. So the bag at the time in the police station was taken out of the incident room. It's meant to have some signatures. During the Court of Appeal investigation, it says that bag was moved at the time Mr. Lehman's in the police station. There's no coordinating signatures with it. So that bag was withheld from my forensic team to examine. They was given photographs only of the prints. We wasn't given the bag itself, where you can test if a print has been laid on it and what surface that print has come off of. So if they've taken a print, say, off of that bottle, there'd be a bottle print on the other side of the print, and they wouldn't give us this to do that. And then they said the bag was damaged as a result of the tests that they had conducted. So he said, why would you pay to have tests conducted that Rough Justice, which was a miscarriage of justice organisation some years ago, so the parents of the kids who may be watching this would know it, the kids may not, all right? But Rough Justice had 17 miscarriages of justice. Louise Shortier was the deputy producer on that, assistant, or deputy producer or deputy director, something on that. And anyway, they never gave us the bag. So I was arrested on the 10th. That's what happened. They took me out of my cell, took my prints twice. Never sent the bag off or my prints off to be identified whilst I was in police custody, which you can get an answer on prints within a couple of hours.
Straight
so
away.
if they'd have matched my print on that bag at that time, they'd have been to put that question to me, because that connects me to what they say was the gun in the crime. They didn't do none of that. They released me, then they came back and rearrested me.
They released you?
Released me after 2 days.
On bail for murder?
On bail. Well, I was on bail pending further investigations for murder, but I wasn't identified. They had nothing connecting me to the murder until they found this print on the bag. In between, when they released me on the 12th, and then rearrested me on the 26th, and they rearrested me and said, under new forensic evidence found, we have Lane's print on the bag that connects him to the murder. There's forensic residue on that print. That turned out to be an absolute load of bollocks. No forensic residue on my print whatsoever. They said that inside that bag was a firearm residue particle.
Yeah.
That was either spent ammunition or spent guns been in there. But it's a refuge bag in a boot of a car. One particle. I was saying that's absolute rubbish. My kid's print was on there because I put my kid's stuff in the boot as well. There's loads of old crap in the boot, to be honest with you. It was an old banger. Well, that was a BMW. It was a dirty old BMW. Some years later, in front of the jury, should I say, they're telling the jury that that print on that bag is consistent with gripping a Mossberg pump-action shotgun inside that bag. The police also said that it was a Mossberg pump-action that was used to carry out the murder.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, what is going on? I have not gripped a pump-action in that mucking bag. All right, I might have gone to the fairground and shot a pellet gun, but let's get it right. So I'm sitting there thinking, this isn't right. They've took my prints twice. Set up. There's something badly going wrong here. So the jury are thinking, well, he's gripped a gun in the bag. There's a firearm particle inside the bag. He hasn't given an explanation for that. Why is he gripping a gun inside a bag? He must have had something to do with it. Hence, I got found guilty. So Louise Shortier of the Innocent Project, Tracy Alexandra, Susan Shaw from the Forensic Science Institution, they conducted some tests on behalf of Panorama in relation to this bag and what the forensic police said. They said it's absolute rubbish. Should never have been allowed to say it.
Wow.
And that got me a guilty. Amongst bending the rules here and there, the helicopters taking you to court above the van, the armed police on the roof, snipers, armed police on the jury for 24 hours, armed police on the judge for 24 hours, armed police all down the corridors as the jury walk out of the room at the back of the court. It's horrendous. Now, let's just have it right. If you're a police officer and you're looking after me, and I'm a jury member, and you're sitting outside my house for 12-hour shifts, all right? I'm going to come out and say, do you want a cup of tea, mate? All right?
Yeah.
I'm a polite man. I don't give a monkey's where you're from or what you do. Would you like a cup of tea? All right. You're engaged then, aren't you? In terms of the jury I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, how are you getting on? Okay, yeah. He's a bad bastard, that one, you know. Well, if you know what he got away with. You don't know what they've said, do you?
Yeah, you don't know what they're all talking about.
You don't know how they've got on this 24-hour armed guard. And I also had a police officer who was foreman on the jury. Again, that's wrong. Hence, I had a hung jury in the first trial. Couldn't come to a decision. And then the second trial, I got a 10-2 majority after 2.5 days out.
So do you genuinely believe that if the police want someone inside, they can put someone inside?
Absolutely. You can be taken off the streets. So Michael Howard, he was Home Secretary at the time, and I'm not quite sure on the year, but I was made exceptional risk at the time, which is triple category A. With that, he imposed a certain amount of restrictions at that category. One of them was the legalisation of bugging of your legal visits.
They were bugging your legal visits.
And it was printed in the Times and the Guardian. So the Times, they said, look, it's not going to be used to influence against you in your case. Well,
that's bullshit.
Of course, a load of bollocks, right? It's the canteen culture of sitting around the table with your pals, telling them what's going on. And then my legal visits, my social visits were obviously bugged, but I didn't stand a chance. And also, I had a big screen in between us. So my barrister at the time was holding up pieces of paper. We're discussing that whilst on camera. And the camera you could touch with you. If I went like this now, I could touch it. And that's looking down. So you got one there on you and all, one behind you here, and you're going like that. So they can see everything. It's just, you know, I didn't stand a chance. So I got a guilty of a 10-2 majority. Got sent to Whitemore Special Secure Unit after the escape, because it's a prison within a prison with its own wall and its own fences. And that was, I landed in the block as soon as I went there as well. Straight into the second. There was a grass in there, and I didn't want anybody to say that I've been speaking to him, so I knocked him out. I don't mean it like that. People say, oh, you've knocked this out, you knocked it out. Yeah, I have, but do you want me to say, like, I kissed him and he fell asleep?
It's true. It's true. You're telling the truth at the end of the day.
I don't mean it egotistically, like, I went there and I done him. What happened was there was a super grass in the unit because he smuggled a gun into Durham prison with another fellow, a friend of mine. And then he gassed the fellow up to get whatever, and they got nicked. And of course, because they've been involved in smuggling a gun, although it was a grass, he had to come into the special secure unit. And I knew that he was, so I thought, well, we better set the record straight away so he can't make up anything about me. That is why I hit him, not because we'd had crosswords. So some people could say, well, Kevin, it's a bit much of him. Well, not really, because I shouldn't be in the bloody unit with him, giving him an opportunity. So I ended up in the seg, and then when I ended up in the seg, they didn't put me in a strip cell for that, funny enough, and they didn't wrap me up because they came down to Whitemore to interview me and said, we want to make your transition into the unit a little bit settled, Kevin. I'd never hear of them coming down to interview before you go there. You're going there, that's your grade, end off, and we're going to deal with you. Well, I was quite problematic in the units because they say a miscarriage of justice is going to rebel pretty much the most out of anyone when they go away, if it's in them. Well, it was in me. And then with that come a lot of interaction with staff and a lot of time in the segregation unit and a lot of time in the strip cells. So bail marshals run on violence, as most prisons are, and I met violence with violence as soon as I got in there. We're going to kill you, Lane, if we get you down here. Take these cuffs off, we'll talk about it. Cuffs come off, bang. And it went on like that. Another geezers, big bodybuilders, right in you. Nothing wrong with big bodybuilders, but some of the fellas in there thought they're big lads who they can threaten a young-looking fella. I said, you ain't threatening me, mate. Do not be mistaken about that, because I will not suffer it. Next thing you know, there's another one asleep on the floor. Next thing you know, I'm in the segregation permanently. I spent months in the segregation in the unit, because you're in the unit on your own, because you're not putting the main unit in the other mainstream prison. But I didn't mind that. I had a couple of pigeons to talk to, feed them. They got to be big and fat, and then it was lovely. I was doing my painting by numbers. But don't laugh at that, because I'll tell you something now. If you get a forest one, painting by numbers, and you do little intricacies, the time it's taking you, you get a picture, you think you're bleeding Picasso.
I can bloody imagine it, to be fair.
But the time in the training it took, so I loved it in solitary, on my own. Sometimes you get the odd person come down for something, but not very often. And then, like I say, I went to Franklin, Whitemore, should I say, landed in the block there, picked a pen up, and wrote a letter to a fellow called David Jessel, who was on the Criminal Cases Review Commission. He's on the Panorama documentary that Mark Daly conducted with Louise Shorter and Tracy Alexandra. And during that interview with David Jessel, he says they're not fit for purpose, the Criminal Cases Review Commission. But I wrote a letter to him because he was the CEO of Trial and Error, which was a bit like Rough Justice. So then became the long battle to get out.
And so you served your full sentence.
Mm.
You didn't get released early.
No.
And, okay, one thing I want to understand is, from talking to you, you're not scared of anything.
Well, I bloody am. Don't be fooled by that.
No, but you're not, you went into prison and you held your own.
Yeah, as a matter of must, not a case of, I'm here.
But that takes, you've got to have that inside of you. You've got to be able to stand on your own. If any Joey went into prison, they might just be pushed to the back of the prison and just told, like, shut up, that's what you're doing. What was your childhood like? Was you always involved in violence? Was you a working man? Was you a businessman? Was you genuinely just on a straight and narrow?
So I was a happy kid. I liked to perform in front of you. I tell you as my mum, respectfully, right? So my mum would have her mates there, and I'd do Norman Wisdom impersonations. Do you remember him, Norman Wisdom? No. All right, we must say no more about that. Frank Spencer.
Okay, yeah.
All Betty and all that.
Yeah.
And I had a little ventriloquist, and I used to love performing. And I was a real happy, fun kid. My brother had an accident when he was a kid. He had to wear a special crash helmet on his head, like Mr. Magoo, extended. That came with problems, hence the violence and the fighting as a young boy. And that goes through into the juniors, Mikey. It goes through into the seniors, because my brother had all plates in his head. He nearly died. He had helicopter, ambulance and all that. Stupid bastard run out behind a bus. Fucking hell, like, kids do the stupidest of things.
What did he do?
Run out behind the back of a bus in front of a vehicle. Slipped my mum's hand, bang, was gone. Right? Kids do that, don't they? They just, and we lived in the country and all, so he took care of business himself when he got a lot older, but I was in that place for whatever reason at that time. Met a girl when I got expelled from school. I went to another school, had to sit in a classroom all day, apart from 2 lessons. I was allowed to have maths, or French and maths, I think it was.
That's it.
Yeah, that was it. I had to sit in the classroom, the rest of them. But I met a girl there.
Yeah.
There was her and her mate in the school, and I didn't think I stood a chance with her, actually, but I fancied her. I said, I'll have her mate, and then she said, the other one fancied her. I said, I'll have her then.
Yeah.
So I went out of Kim. I had 2 children with her, and her family were notorious in the area. But I never knew nothing about that, Mikey. I didn't know anything about villains, gangsters, the craze. I knew nothing. I come from a village. I worked as a kid. All I knew, who was the toughest bloke in the village. Right? I knew were the tough ones. That's all I knew as a young kid. And the stories surrounded by them. Because it was a very tough village. It was a pub crawled village. A lot of pubs in the village at the time with a common. You could just walk from pub to pub. Down the lanes you could go to pubs. So great for that, but with that comes problematic. So we'd have 2 SPG vans parked in the village on a Friday and Saturday night, special patrol groups, ready for it to kick off.
So it was a violent village.
Violent village, all right? A lot of travellers in there coming up there to find the hardest man in the village, you know? And they live down the lanes, the lads. And they mix with us and they live down the lanes, but they like a good scrap. So that was going on regularly. I grew up in that village. I then went to meet this girl. I met her. Then found out about the family. By the time I was 18, I'm working bleeding nightclubs and doors because I could look like a manager.
Yeah.
And then I could approach you. You wouldn't wrap me up and put me in a stranglehold because I'd be talking to you, you know. But if it went the other way, then I could defend myself. But before it got that, you're ready to talk to me because you're not 6'4" and as wide. It makes sense, Mikey.
That makes a massive difference when someone approaches you and they look the part. You're less likely to start having a fight.
Yeah, they don't look aggressive.
Yeah. Makes a massive difference.
So I work the doors, but with that comes some problems, and obviously you start branching out, whether you're buying. I had 50 knuckle dusters, like made in Hatton Garden. Okay.
You had to have 50, yeah? Just you know, one for each day of the fucking year or something.
I bought 50 to sell them.
Okay, all right.
So I had a made in Hatton Garden, and it may like. Do you want me to go and wrap him up?
No, he's good. He ain't picking it up. Don't worry.
So with the knuckle dusters, I thought, well, I'll give them to the doorman. Okay,
Yeah,
and I'm not
protect
giving the
themselves.
people. Well, I say protect them. You're causing some damage when you hit someone with them. When I've hit people with them, they've folded on many people. They smash onto me, and I can't get them off because they've crushed. And they were good knuckle dusters. No, don't get me wrong. They weren't spiky. They were just round like your knuckles.
Normal
They weren't-
knuckle dusters.
Well, to make split people's faces open. They just need to protect your hands and put them to sleep. But I put them to sleep anyway. But they do the job. So I had 50 knuckle dusters made in Hatton Garden. They make good money. Yeah. You make £50 a duster back then. Okay.
Back then, it's big money. People now hearing £50, and it's like, well, £50, but back then that's equivalent to probably 250 quid now.
2.5 grand, okay, for 50 knuckle dusters, all right. And they cost me. By the time I bought the brass, and then I paid the caster £1 a duster, 50 quid, whatever you got. It didn't come to a lot of money. I think the company owed me 12 quid.
Is that it? That's sweet. Nice little profit.
38 quid profit a time back then,
sweet.
right? But there was done just, I'm in the industry, bong, there's 50 dusters for all the lads. And then from that, I bought my own company. And I bought this company as a stepping stone to go into camera security. But I wanted to approach hotels, hospitals, the corporate events for security cameras. But I wanted a stepping stone, and I bought the security company to do that. But within no time at all, that grew. And then you're just too immature to be truthful with you, because you've got all these doormen working for you as a young man. You're driving a nice car, you've got a nice missus, you're walking into clubs with an entourage, you don't pay. You'll come in, and you go to other clubs like Astoria, where your other pals have got the door, Busby's and whatever else, you go straight in. With that comes a little bit of bleeding your chest out.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, like
It does, it gets to you a little
Johnny
bit.
Big Potatoes, you know. Otherwise I would have stopped that and focused on the business sense. So I carried on with that for a few years, got banged up for a kidnapping, which I did do.
Talk to us about that. Well, you can talk about
I'll come back to the stuff we're talking about in a minute. So I kidnapped someone a few years before. They'd nicked some equipment off of a friend of mine, £100,000 worth. They'd been to the police had no luck with them. It wasn't the kid I kidnapped who had done it, but he was put forward as the person that did it. So I took him away. The local censorship in the area was that he was responsible as well, and he admits that because I've done restorative justice with him. Yeah. And I'm going to do a podcast with him soon, Will. Lovely fella. And after meeting him and finding out how he was after what I've done to him,
this is the guy you've kidnapped?
Yeah, more people should do that, because it was a day of reckoning for me to be responsible for my actions, seeing a person sit in front of me. And now we get on really well. Amazing, that, isn't it?
It's crazy.
So, I took him away, run him over a couple of times, put the wheels over him to make sure he was telling me the truth, to repeat the information he'd already given me, phone number, so I don't want to phone up the people to see if it was the ones they said. I said, right, I've now got the details and blah, blah, of people so be careful about what you do. So I then took him, drove him to London, CS gassed him and threw him in a canal. Bearing in mind he couldn't use his legs. So I wasn't really thinking rationally at the time. I was thinking, you can have this, you bastard. You've put a knife to a girl, you've threatened the baby and said you're going to cut the baby and you're going to cut the bird if they go to the police again. Well, it weren't him. But as far as
actually him.
It weren't him.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
thinking it is him. So I'm thinking, I'll run you over again, you bastard. And I'll bash you again, and So that was my thought pattern, which was wrong, because I had the wrong person.
So he got all of that, and it genuinely was the wrong person.
He was an scapegoat. And he comes to me and says, Kevin, I understand why you took me, because you was told it was me, and everybody else said it was me, but it weren't. It was my fellow I worked with. So I took him away. I went to prison for kidnapping.
How long did you serve?
I got I was on bail, first of all, because the police got caught out lying. The chief inspector was meant to be writing down the identification parade, and he said, it looks like him, but it's not him. He put, it looks like him, yes, it's him.
Okay.
I got remanded for that. And then when it came out of the 6-1 committal, which is an old-style committal at the magistrates, the witness said, no, the police phoned me up, said, can you meet me at the end of my road? Which she did, and I got in the back of their car, and there's a file with Kevin Lane, his photograph, and said, can you make a new statement? We want to write it out and you identify him. But that all came out of the old-style committal.
No way.
I got immediate bail. So when I went back to court eventually, I had a hung jury, and I went back to court again, and then I got found guilty of a set of circumstances, which is all in my book, Fitted Up and Fighting Back, on Amazon, and my website, Fitted Up and Fighting Back, or Waterstones. So in there, the jury was in a hotel on a Thursday. They come on a Friday, they had the same clothes on. They was expecting to be told to go home.
Yeah.
With that, the the judge said, right, you're going to the hotel, you'll be back here Saturday morning. They went out, they came back in a very short period of time, guilty verdict. Went downstairs to confer with my barrister, was called back upstairs, the jury came back in, said we made a wrong decision, we've been forced into it. A couple of women were crying, blokes were shaking their head. He said, I know there's going to be immediate bail application. He said, and an appeal, but I've got to take their first answer. I said, it's not a game show, Your Honour. So with that came, I said to my barrister, don't appeal, I'm happy with it. I've done 6 months remand. I've got very little time left to do. I did do it. I haven't given evidence. All right, so I'm happy with the 2 years. I was expecting to get 6 to 8. The judge said, you took the law into your own hands. But he said, I understand why you've done it, he's basically saying, but you can't take the law into your hands. You can't be a vigilante, is what he called me. I went to prison, got out, set up a business, a yard. I was doing rubbish then. I was going to do recycled rubbish back then. Look at where it is now. In 1993, I was going to do the rubbish. I went from there. I rented the parts of the yard out and got a few quid in each week. I had a big aircraft hangar that used to cut Rolls Royces up in and things like that, and lorry loads of nicked gear. I apologise to all you people, but I worked. I'm a worker.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler, but if a lorry load of Tampax came along, which it did once, and it was my best seller apart from washing up powder, went like that. You would not believe at the school. Bang! Boxes of it. Just sold, okay? Tampaxes and bleeding washing powder. Best sellers.
Really?
They're best sellers, I'm telling you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, they're always needed.
Yeah.
Washing powder and Tampax,
definitely.
So there's always a demand for them. But I would work. I'd go and sell mobile phones. I worked for Irish Life, selling mortgages and pensions. I had to retake my exams, and I got a licence.
Okay, wicked.
Got a licence. I was 4th in the south of England in business within 2 weeks. So I was turning over a few quid. So I've enjoyed work. But then with that, unfortunately, I went to Tenerife, as I told you. I thought, I've had enough of England. I've had enough of it. I split up with my old woman. Don't blame her. I was by that time, I wasn't mature enough to have 2 kids and a missus when you've got women falling at your feet all the bloody time, all right? Different story now, of course. I've got their nans falling at my feet.
No, I don't think that.
So I came back from Tenerife as a result of going out there to start a new business in the time sales. Thought I'd have a go at that. I'm a good salesman. That didn't work out with the fight I had, so I had to come back to England. And then with that, I got nicked for the murder.
I know you didn't do the murder, but you come back with the intention to find that man, right?
Well, I might have looked him up if I'd have heard anything more about him, if he was making threats to kill me.
So what was the reason you come back from Tenerife?
Well, I thought I've come out here. I've now had a massive tear up with John Palmer, Brinksmack Gold, of all of his security. Ain't gone down well. I've then gone back, as I said, and he said he's coming back to kill me. I thought, well, I'm not on my own so much. I was out there with a fellow mine called Mark Rotherwell.
Yeah, but you're not out here with a whole team.
I'm not out of an army. I haven't got. You're on an island where it's run by an army.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult. So you are on your lonesome. But I stayed there for about 17 days or something. And I thought, look, I sent the missus and the kids home. I thought, you can't stay on here.
Yeah, it's too dangerous.
It's too dangerous. And I thought, what? I've come away from England to get away from this madness. And yet I'm back in it here. Okay, through, I could say no fault of my own. But realistically, it was my fault because I should have walked away. I should have gone, listen, all right, no problem, mate, whatever you want, but can you just have a chat with your doorman, please? Instead of seeing it as an attack on me or you're threatening me.
But it's a lot easier said than done. I think we all know that. You can sit here and say that 100 times, but I'm sure if someone comes and says the same thing to you now again, you're going to react in the exact same way. It's very, very hard to say when someone's attacking you for you to be like, oh, going to be the bigger man and walk away.
You can't because they're hell-bent on injuring you.
Yeah.
So what do you do? As a lifer, I get recalled because they call that bad behaviour.
The thing is, you can't even do right as a lifer. That's the problem. Even if you try and defend yourself, no, bad behaviour.
Bad behaviour. So, like, if I put my hand under this table and stroked your leg, what would you do?
Not let you stroke my leg.
What you'd do, you'd assault me, okay? You'd slap me around the face and say, get your hand off me, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I can't do that as a lifer. So don't think you can start stroking my leg just because I said that.
You can't actually do anything.
Can't do anything.
You can't do. That's what I mean. Is it even if you're trying to do the right thing, even if someone does come up to you and rob you, for example, and you attack back, knock this geezer out, whatever, you're gonna get nicked for it.
My pal got hit over the head with a bottle by a drunken neighbour, and it was all on camera. Until they investigated it, he had to do 6 months on remand for bad behaviour, and he was released immediately. 6 months, because he was an ex-lifer. All right, and he hasn't killed no one. Someone else killed someone. He went to the door with someone to frighten someone. The fella he went with just shot the geezer. He said, "What the? We went to frighten him. What are you doing?" But he got a life sentence for that, and he served 20-odd years for that. Poor sod.
And what was prison like? Because as you know from watching the podcast, I've had loads of ex-criminals, ex-prison inmates, I think, yeah, but and everyone says the same thing. It's not as bad as they make it out to be. And is that true? Because you obviously served the longest time, 20 years. It's not a joke. Is prison as bad as everyone makes it out to be?
Well, I won't say nothing about what your previous guests have had, so they may have different experiences, different prisons, respectively, of course. But from where I've been, I have to tell you, do not be fooled about they are easy. Because you've got to put up with people that are in there for committing the most hideous of crimes against people. Not nonces, of course, and rapists. They're on other wings, supposedly. They do slip them in amongst you. But there's people in there that are extremely violent, done some most terrible crimes. So you'll have people in prison now coming in and putting a knife to, not your neck per se, but somebody's neck, another prisoner. Right, get on the phone your family, get some money transferred into that account, as they're putting boiling water over your feet as well.
Fucking hell.
Right. That's in dispersals now. Going into people's cells and putting spoons up their asses for a bit of puff or a bit of drugs. Yeah, get your puff out, or we're going to. And they would do it themselves. So, for any of you lot who think I'm going to sell a bit of drugs, I'm going to go and do this, I'm going to go and do that. Prison's easy. Get in there and get a spoon up your ass. Yeah, I know that up my ass. But they're very violent, extremely violent places. The system's failing abysmally. You might get an IPP 2-year sentence and you'll do 16 because you're not addressing your offending behaviour work. You're doing courses that have been recommended by America and Canada, but 10 years prior to us getting them, they've been reported as failing, yet we have to follow suit.
Yeah.
So you're a nodding dog. You're just treading water till you get out. You're not learning many new skills because there wasn't the workshops or the training skills in there for you. You're getting treated like a scumbag. Get behind your door, we're going to wrap you up. There's no negotiation, it's all run on violence. And you'll be let out of your cell when you're let out. If you have COVID, stay behind your door. You can have a PlayStation, you can have this, can have that. But you're living in amongst the jungle where the strongest of the strongest will survive and the evilest of the evilest will survive. If they're powerful, okay, and they want to enforce their ways on you. So anybody who says it's easy, well, I don't know what type of bird they're doing or where they did it, all right?
I think it makes a massive difference, prison to prison, of course.
When I did my bird, there was 5 murders in that year in amongst different prisons, in a high security estate and that. And Grendon was the other one. 5 murders. They don't get reported on, do they?
No, nah.
Is that easy? I've had knives pulled on me.
So do you think prisons have changed now compared to when you done your sentence?
Massive, Mikey.
In what sense?
Prisons have doubled sentences. Many years ago, a lifer was sentenced 12 years. I mean, the least less likely to reoffend lifers. Now they're given 25, 30, 40 years, okay, depending on the crime. Joint enterprise, you'll get the same as the person who stuck a knife in someone, and you didn't really know they were going to kill anybody. But, you know, there's so many kids in prison now for joint enterprise and 2-strike lifers. With that comes the drugs that are now being used in prison: spice, heroin, crack. When I was in prison, it was a bit of hemp puff.
Yeah.
Like the soap bar. And you could leave it on the side, screws would come in, bang your windows. I mean, my mate had like an ounce of puff on his side in the unit, special security unit. They come in. It was still in there when we came back for exercise. Still sitting on the side. You used to be able to sit and smoke a spliff.
Yeah.
In the unit with screws sitting over there. They wouldn't dare come near you because we'd all kick off. All right. Now
You can't do that shit.
you can't do that. It's just fucking. They want to persecute you. They want to nick you. So, as a result of bringing in the dedicated search teams, the mandatory drug testing, and then the IEP, the incentive level scheme. That stopped people spending what they had in their canteen to buy shit, whether it's food off the canteen or phone credit or whatever, okay? So then when they give you different levels of spending, which is only minimal, of course, comes drug dealing with that. Because when you've got to choose between a phone call to your kids, spending a tenner on a phone to your family, or a tenner canteen so you can have a bit of coffee, or some washing powder, or some shampoo, or something, tenner's worth of gear, or whatever, they will drug deal.
Yeah, but they're given no option. That's the problem. This is the problem with prison right now. They're making it so hard for people to come out and better themselves because prison's become such a shithole. And it's not even like you don't learn anything in there. It's meant to be a place you go to understand what you've done wrong. Now you're going there just as punishment, and it's just you're getting in more trouble when they're in prison. Like, there's so many people I know who say, I prefer being in prison. Do you know how many people I meet? I make money in prison. I meet this. I meet more criminals. I've come out and I've got new friends I make more money with. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's just a group full of criminals, which when they get together, it's just destruction.
It's a false economy because they hear about, everybody tells you about how well they've done in prison. Like, some have done exceptionally well, but they might have to do another 20 years before they can get out to say they've done exceptionally well. And in the meantime, the Proceeds of Crime Act will take everything off them that they can find. Yeah. And it's still aggravation, all right? So it isn't such a glorified industry of the criminals being, everybody wants to be heist and this and that, you know. And God, it's a mug's game, really, being a criminal, because you go to prison. Very few people survive and have all the luxuries of crime. Most people got to go and live in Dubai now. Yep. You know, that Dubai is no good because they're bringing them back from Dubai, you know, or wherever it was, Thailand and such, you know. Now there used to be 50 countries they couldn't bring you back from. Look at
Dubai, they're now getting you back from Dubai.
Back from Dubai. And they're taking money out of the banks that you got over there, that Dubai banks are seizing, the government. So my mate had £6 million taken off of him for money laundering. He was only washing people's money up, okay? And he got a lot of bird for it. However, prison is now full of violence, full of longer times in prison, no skills. They should have factories in a prison, okay, where they say, right, you are going to learn a skill in a prison, whether it's carpentry, bricklaying, or we're going to produce, what does this country need? They need houses. So let's have a factory where we train our workers straight away to produce wooden framed houses or zip panels, structurally insulated panels, whatever this country needs. Put our tradesmen out there or our prisoners out there and give them a trade. So when they can go home, we've got the workforce in this country to go straight to work. Give them an option. We don't do that. We say, count these screws into a packet, like a good boy, and I want you to do 1,000 packets of them, and I'm going to give you £2. You go on, clear off. All right? I'd rather sit in my cell and send money to someone and get my canteen. Well, I wouldn't. I'd go to work, me. Because I don't mind, I'll be in there having a crack, you know. But it's brain numbing. So there's nothing in prison really. You'll have 12 people in a paint shop, you'll have 15 people in a brick shop, but you'll have 200 people doing shit work. When it should be the other way round. It's not geared up to improve a person's life. So I would say to anybody that says prison is easy, well, it's easy if you're going in there because you've got all your pals in there from your area and they're already drug dealing and you're drug dealing. So you're getting more money than you did outside. You're not living with your parents because you're banged up in prison. When you're living with your parents, you're smoking that stuff. I can smell it. I can stinks up there. And you're hanging around with them boys again. Where are you getting your money from? Bollocks. I'll go home, do a bit of bird, serve up in there, come out to a few quid. That's what they think.
Yeah.
Is that an easy life? No. It's a misguided life.
And it's just a life that you shouldn't want to aspire to do. Like, I don't know, so many people now who feel like it's a cool thing to go to prison. It's not fucking cool.
Fair play to you.
It don't make you cool to go to prison.
I wish I'd never gone.
That's what I mean. And my following up question to that is, do you regret anything you've done in your life? Do you regret the time you spent in prison? Because as much as I know the obvious answer is, yeah, I regret it, I wish I didn't do it. Do you think that's turned you into the man you are today? Because you're successful, you've got an amazing selling book.
Yeah.
And if you could turn back time, would you?
So, I'm grateful for the life I've got now, Mikey. Charlie Bronson said it eloquently. He said, I've got no regrets. But that's because the life he's been dealt with, he's just led. Inside him, because he's been beaten so much, he's not in him to say, I have regrets. because he's been made that way. 3 years in the countryside doing a bit of painting, they say I've got regrets because he's mellowed some.
He just got denied bail again, though?
No, it's not yet. You have an answer soon. It's still
His case was just recently, though, right?
Yeah, it's information that's out there in a minute. We'll have an answer soon.
Do you reckon he's coming out?
They've got to do a release plan for him, haven't they? They can't just say you're staying there because we failed
They
you.
can't keep him there forever. Like,
Can't do that,
he's
that's
got
right.
to come out eventually.
The regrets I have is, I have some regrets, for instance, how I've led my life and some of the actions that I've done. But meeting Kim Purcell, the mother of my children, that's not a regret by meeting her family, because that's taken me on my path. I could say I wish I'd spent as long in prison, okay, because I missed my children growing up.
Yeah.
But if that's what someone meant for me, I'm here now, and I'm doing okay, and I'm free. But if this was the path that I had to walk, so other people could learn from that, my children could learn from it, and so on and so forth, then that's the way it has to be, and I'm happy with that, and I will just go forward. But I have got regrets, but you can't change them, can you? You can learn from them.
Definitely can't. You can't. It's there. It's happened. And if you do want to answer, you can. If you don't, it's fine. But what is your relationship with your kids like now? If you don't want to discuss them, it's fine.
No, I do. So I've got a problem at the minute with an ex who's now been caught out lying consistently over the last 5 years and preventing me from seeing my son on and off. I've got her by the bollocks, so to speak, and the court are going to reprimand her severely because she's just stopped me seeing my son again and broke a court order. So I'm very lucky where I've got a close relationship with my children. My eldest boys kiss me on the lips. I go, Dad, kiss me on the lips. Because I used to do it as a kid, right? People see it when we're out, they might think, that dirty old bastard, you've got a young boy.
How old are your kids? And how many you got?
36, 34.
Wow.
And I've got a 10-year-old girl, I've got a 6-year-old boy and a 5-year-old boy.
5.
Yeah. So I had him pretty much when I first came out. I've been out since 2015, recalled twice. So I had a bit of a stop off, had a baby.
I know it sounds bad, but did your kids ever turn their back on you?
No.
And think he's been in prison, he's not part of our life kind of thing? Because I've heard stories where the dad's gone prison for whatever he's done and the kids have felt like, you ain't been there for me. I don't want to speak to you.
Well, I was always there from via mail, presents, friends dropping stuff around to them, maintenance even, which was given to the kids, so-called, but the mum used to have that at the time. So I fulfilled my duties up until I could, and then I was part of their life, whichever way I could. So I've come home from prison. My eldest boy suffers from the prison side of things because I was very close to my children.
Yeah.
People are close to the kids, but I was exceptionally close to them. As I worked for myself at the time, I could always be at home, in and out, picking them up from school and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it was a massive part of their life.
Massive part of their life. Difficult, but I'm glad to say that I've installed the building blocks for them to go forward in life and do well. One's travelling America a minute with his wife and his little girl, travelling America working. Okay? Beautiful. He's been Orlando, he's been San Francisco, he's now in New York. I'm not sure which
Lucky for some, eh?
Lucky for some, travelling and been able to pay for his family to live abroad with him, Mikey, and have a nice time. My other son's a leading, he works for Oracle, and he's in the top 10 in the world for sales. He's been number one sometimes. So he's earning a massive figure. My other son in America earns he earns $250,000, the other earns $250,000 a year. Not bad though, all right? Plus
very good
benefits, okay? So I must have done something right with them, and they followed their dad in their earning ability. I'm a pretty good salesman in my day because I sell something after I believe in it, and I don't feel like I'm selling you something that's not going to do you any good. I always believe sell something you believe in, and you're not selling it. So I'm proud of my sons, very proud of Aaron, and very proud of Tommy. And my other children, I'm very proud of them as they are young kids. At the minute, they're just young kids though, aren't they?
Yeah, 10, 6.
10, 6 and 5. So I'm very lucky. You've got Sienna, you've got Rocco, and you've got Cooper.
My cousin's called Sienna.
Yeah, lovely name.
Have their lives been affected by you going in prison? Because obviously their dad is known, very well known, I'd say. Everyone knows your story. You've given your story on multiple podcasts. And have the kids been affected by it in school, or was they affected by it in school when it was happening, the older kids?
Yeah, so the older boys they had to move a number of times through police harassment. I mean, the Ben Copper, in my case, got sent to prison in the end, but he was visiting the mother of my children at her home. When she went to the gym, he'd turn up in the gym, he'd phone her up, and all things like this, you know, harassing her because they thought she was going to give evidence for me. But then she just had a breakdown and said, I can't do it. We were going to call her. My bail said, if you call her, she's a hostile witness, really, because they're only saying she's going to say what she's going to say because you're her old man. Yeah. So they're not going to believe her. I said, but get her in the box. Anyway, this copper then started playing his games. He's been around the house, he's done this, he's done that. And it's all over the phone in the unit. So it's all recorded. So it's not as if like they can't go and investigate that he's been harassing her. Yeah. Nothing was done.
Of course it wasn't. That's just how
it's how it works. So yeah, my kids have suffered in terms of when I got recalled. There was letters provided from Sienna. She wrote a nice poem about her father missing. I'm not her real father, by the way, because her father was a famous stuntman, Brian Nichols.
Oh, really?
A well-respected, famous man I hold dear to my heart now. He was a real figure, a real man, not like these wankers out there now. He was a real man and a stuntman and a funny man, right? But cross him, you'll suffer. He passed away with a tragic heart attack, and I stepped into their lives sometime after. But when I got recalled, she's written a lovely poem, Sienna, and she's a very intelligent kid, as is Rocco is. And of course, they were missing me because they missed their dad. Their dad's gone, and they've got someone else step into their shoes.
And he's gone now.
And now he's bleeding gone. All right, is this what life's all about? So they did suffer. My youngest, Cooper, the Zoom meetings. The mother's a right evil bitch. I do not care about on this podcast. I've got it on evidence. She's an evil, lying bitch, and she's going to be in trouble by the court now, saying she's a struggling single parent when she ain't been single for ages, and she's had a dope of a boyfriend who smokes massive cannabis bags, hits himself and he don't get what he wants, taking photographs of his previous girlfriend while she's asleep, naked, and a police investigation from that. And my ex has told the court, I'm a struggling single parent. Yeah. Been with this fellow a year, stopped me seeing my son during that time. So my son had to see me in prison during video link, and she would cut the video off or say he's not having a video today, and like my boy would go, Mum, stay out of it. No, Mum, wanting his dad.
Yeah,
and then
bless him.
She would mess around. So kids suffer adversely in other manners because the mother is interfering, or the mother doesn't want you to have contact with your son because you won't go back with them. So they do suffer not just by your actions or the criminal justice actions by putting you in prison. Sometimes they suffer from you being taken out of society and unable to participate in their life from the restrictions that are placed upon you. When ordinarily you are an excellent father.
And you're just trying to do your best as well.
So they can go forward in life. Treat them the rights and the wrongs and manners and be kind and don't be violent. My boys can both hold their hands up, okay? Because I taught them from the kids. But do you know what? My kids, they don't fight. And I'm so proud of that. One of the boys is 6'4", one's 6'2", one's about 17 stone, one's about 13.5 stone. But real quiet lads, soft and quiet. So because I can be violent, and I've taught my kids to defend themselves, most people will think, ooh, I love a fight. Yeah. Well, I don't love a fight, okay? I'll go down the gym to box. Yeah. I'll fight in the street if you want me to fight in the street, but I will go down the gym and fight because I don't like fighting in the street. It's a mug's game. Let's do what men do and step into the ring on your own. So my boys have grown up with that philosophy, and I'm proud to say that they are not violent men just because I can be violent.
Have they ever had trouble, in a sense, as people start on them because of who you are, thinking that they're going to be violent too?
Never.
Never had anything like that?
Never, because they moved areas until they got a bit older and said, this is Kevin's boy and that's Kevin's boy. And
look after him, kind of thing.
Look after him. So, we're all a bit of a big lump. But they conduct themselves in such a professional and nice manner, really respectful and really polite and kind. You can see it in both of my boys. Well, all of my kids, you can see it. And I think that's set them good in life.
I think that's a massive achievement for yourself. As much as you weren't there for 20 years of their life, imagine you was. Imagine like that you from what you was doing for 20 years when you weren't there, you've turned them into 5 amazing kids.
Yeah, so
like
far.
No one can take that away from you. That's one credit where, yeah, you went to prison. It is what it is. You did go. You didn't do it. Whatever the history is, but look what you've raised still. And I think that for yourself is an amazing achievement.
Not done it on my own. Obviously, they had their mother, not Cooper's mother, but she's done an excellent job in many ways, although she's really evil, spiteful evil. I say that because fathers have a hard time with it. But if you've got a mother holding a child crying and laughing about it because they want their daddy, that's evil. But then Aaron and Tommy's mother, excellent mother. Rocco and Sienna's mother, excellent mother. Okay, a bit soapy at times, but excellent mother. So I can't be lambast Cooper's mother too much, but she's done well with him in many other ways. I have to accept that, although I say she is evil by her actions for me. So thank you for what you said about me having a hand in their lives. However, I'd like to have had more. I don't think that me going to prison was beneficial to them in the sense where they would have done better if I'd have been home. If I'd have had my father when I was a child, I would have done better. I wouldn't have gone the path I did because my father would have had me taking me to work with him.
Yeah.
My dad was a groundsman. Like, he'd lay pipe work on building sites and things like that. Good money in it now. Like, the paddies were great at it, the Irish. So my dad was doing what the Irish were doing with the Irish years ago.
Yeah.
First one in, first one to get paid, didn't you? In the ground. So it was a good, and I know they earn good money. So if I'd have had my dad, I believe I'd have been a lot different. I believe I'd have been a better boxer because as a kid, I'd go into the box. I remember we had an exhibition club show, and I put two geezers on their arse straight away. Bang, bang, bang. I had 2 fights that morning, weighed them in, and I was ready to go again.
Yeah.
As a junior. And then if I'd have had my dad, that would have continued. But I used to have to get a bus, which is a good...
So what happened with your dad, if you don't mind me asking?
Mum and dad split up. My dad became an alcoholic. He then subsequently died. When I carried on boxing, I used to have to get a bus from Harefield Village to Watford. You had to wait for one bus, a 347 or a 348. They might not come. They might miss a bus out. Every half hour, so you've got to wait an hour.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the Bushy Arches, which if anyone who knows it, I then had to walk to the boxing club. For a young kid, that's a lot of travelling and a lot of time, when my dad would have took me. And then I didn't go back till I had to stop when I was 14, because I had inflammation on both knees. I didn't go back till I was 18. But if I had a father around me...
He would have pushed you to do that.
I would have carried on... Well, I loved it. I would have carried on that. And I believe, by my fighting ability outside as a young kid, I had something naturally in me, very fast hands. I had the fastest hands in the club. I mean, my trainer used to say, I mean, of all the pros, said he's got the fastest hands. And I did have fast hands. Like, I should say to people, I lick you that many times you think you're surrounded. Simple as that. 2 fellas in front of me, bang, bang, I could get my hands up as a young kid. Now, fucking hell, I'm like an old lady. Need an handbag. However, I think I may have gone in different careers, different ways.
So what does the future hold for Kevin Lane?
So I've got a company called Modular Manufacturing. I'm looking at the moment to... I've got some problems with my Turkish supplier who sent me over products that I haven't ordered. I ordered something and I got something different in terms of...
Completely different?
No, structurally excellent, okay. Finishing poor. So you'll have an internal hotel door as your front door. It's made of wood.
Yeah.
It will bow. It will swell up. And that's what they've sent over. I said, well, you know what you've sent over because you've purchased these that are surplus for other jobs that you've now used on my order.
Yeah, and you're
as
trying
a front
to
door, and you're trying to fob me off of it. So I'm not happy with that. They put polystyrene as insulation in a home office. It's a fire hazard. Okay, so I've taken the thing apart to check polystyrene. It's not UK compliant. What are you doing? You've had the emails in relation to the other products. Yeah, wow. But some of the stuff they've cut corners.
They try their luck. They always try their luck.
So Askay, or however you pronounce it, like I say, they're massive in Turkey. And I'm now working with Net Zero Builds, who are subsidiary to them. They've got 700 million in this country they're launching with. They've got 130,000 square foot of factory. And they're just waiting for the 120 Turkish workers to be cleared to come over and work in the factories. That's taken a bit of time. But the product, they're producing my product in their factory.
Yeah.
I'm so chuffed with it. So they've got a black barn, which I produce. And when it was built in Turkey, other factories flew to my factory to view it. and they wanted to buy it, and they said, we've not seen this design over here, now replicating it. I then start talking to Net Zero Builds, go to their factory up in Hull.
They've replicated.
That's my barn. It was bigger than my barn, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because my barn should have been 44 foot when it came over. It was 34 foot. Again, not what I paid for. You know what I'm talking about, Mikey, don't you? All right? Being Turkish.
The Turkish is very, very good. Don't get it twisted. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not good at what they do. But they're very sneaky fuckers. They try their best. They do. I can say it. I'm a Turk myself. I know it.
Yeah.
They will 100% try.
So
Loophole.
yes,
Boom.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Let's send that instead. I'll make more money there. We'll send this. We'll do that. They'll try it. But as long as you're doing your part correctly and staying on top of that, they'll try. Then they'll turn around and say, fuck, all right, we can't get past this one. Shit.
Yeah, you're
He's
right.
good.
It's
That's
exactly
what it
what's
is.
happened. So I've got all my email trails. I've got all my photographic evidence from this is what we wish in our homes. This is the type of bathroom we wish. We want that, this, and they send it back saying this is what you're going to get. When the houses turn up, it isn't what I ordered. To some degree. So I'm releasing that company, and I'm going with a tier 1 company in Turkey who works all over the world, and now they're launching in England.
Yeah, which is amazing for you. It's amazing.
And their product's excellent. Let's not get this wrong. The Turks, I have to say, when they came over here to fit a sports bar that I just sold in Tunbridge Wells, first one of its kind that we did.
Whereabouts in Tunbridge Wells? I had a shop
there. Frank.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
okay.
a little bit out. They was on the roof in the rain in their wet overalls, chucking it down, putting the roof on.
Yeah, they're there to work.
There to work. And I've done a video. I said, how many Englishmen would you see out in this weather today? Up on a roof, pouring down. And it was pouring down. And they got all the wet overalls on, just ticking away. So excellent workers.
They're there to do a job, that's it.
Bloody good. And the products that they've got in Turkey, they will copy anything and they say, yes, we can do that. So you've got to give them to it. But they do some, not all. It's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they said, like, sell them the house, knock a bit off, and we make it good after. No, we do not do that in England. You
how
get
they
what
are.
you buy.
Yeah, Turks are straight up hustlers. That's it. If they can make a little extra money doing this or sending you half a product, they will do it, hoping you don't see it. But
Caused me massive problems. That should have come over in June. They ended up coming over in October.
oh, bloody hell.
Some delay. And then the price doubled. And then the cost of transport was included. Well, I didn't have to pay that originally on the agreement. So I've had extra. Whereas now I'm going to have it produced in England by another Turkish company who was tier 1, like I said. So I've smashed it. Hopefully. That's what's going forward for me. I would like to get married at some point in my life, but I'd like it to be not an official wedding. I like to jump over a broom.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So I can call it off if I don't like it. But I would like to get married. All right. I don't want to be held legally by it. Let's go abroad and get married. Jump over a broomstick and eat an hedgehog.
Nah, but one thing I will say to you, after speaking to you for an hour,
Okay.
I can say you should be so proud of yourself of where you've come after spending 20 years in prison, because you're doing very well for yourself. Like you said, you just signed a contract with a tier 1 Turkish company.
Due to sign. I mean, I'm in discussion with them and I want to see the contract first.
Well,
they've asked me,
You're,
so yes.
You're looking to sign, let's say.
yeah.
To even be in that position is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Like many people, that's their dream to just get that contract.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You're in a position where they've come to you for it. You're like, oh, all right, cool. And that alone, like, credit where credit's due, man. No one can take that away from you. As much as, you was a little bit naughty back in the day, is what it is. You've turned your life around. You're in a position which most straight goers ain't in that position. And I think you're very humble. You don't take props for what you've done. And I think you need to actually sometimes look back and think, fuck me, you know what? I've done this, because no one else can take that away from you. Like you served the 20 years, you've done this as well. So you can't hold your hands up for the 20 years you've done, but not hold your hands up for the success you've built.
Well, it's decent of you to say that. I just don't take that very well in terms of, I'm not very good at saying, I mean, although I was sitting here and saying, I've done this and I've done that and done this, I accept that. But, some people say things about, certain things, and I shy away from it right away. I'll talk openly to you on a podcast about it, because I hope people learn from it and say it's not the way forward, violence. If you can avoid it, please do. But yeah, I don't take compliments very well in terms of stuff like that. But yeah, I should do, really. I've got a good drive inside of me, a good brain. I know how to make things work. I've been home from prison after recall, and in that time I've flown back and forth to Turkey a bloody good handful of times. I've had a product design, I've had it delivered in England. It's quite something, that is, when I look at it. And it wasn't until I had it delivered in England, and I thought, I've done it, I've actually got it here. But then when I got it here, I looked at the finish and I thought, my God, you're putting white filler in mitered joints. White, and the mitered joint's grey.
Yes,
Grey skirted.
Looks like shit.
Looks like shit. I mean, and I've got to rip it all off and replace it. Stuff like that I'm doing now. But yeah, I've still achieved something which I must be grateful for. And I haven't done it on my own, though. Let's have this right, without the good fortitude of my friends. And I've borrowed, I haven't stole. I've sold everything. I've got a few $100 grand worth of stock sitting around me. So I might be skint in a minute living off cooked meals by my friend. I haven't sold my watch yet, right? But I have petrol put in my car through friends, or I have a pal bung me a few quid. There we go. Only until I sell some of the products, and then I'm quids in again, and then I'm right quids in, Yeah. However, I'm too proud to go and say, give me an handout.
Yeah, no, you could.
Give me an handout. I've done bits and pieces of that. My pals have gone, Kevin, take that. You need that for that. I'm on about 15 grand here, 10 grand there. I've done over £100,000 on my site. I had a meadow. I turned it into a show home site.
Oh,
Just a meadow. It was nothing else. I put a road in there, gates in there, etc., water, electrics. Comes to money. And I've had to do that from borrowing a bit of money here and there, because prices went through the roof with materials.
But your friends have only let you take that money because they trust you. They know that your product's obviously good, because they're not going to give money to you if they just think, I'm never getting this back. Yeah,
they give it to me because they know I'm a money getter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They know they know you're going to make that money. They know it. So there's no, you'd lend money to someone if you know they're going to give it back to you, right?
I'll give it to people if they needed it. And I think when you give people money, you got to accept you may not give it that back.
100%. Yeah.
So if you lend money to your friends, don't expect to get it back.
I can agree to that.
Kids, the same. My eldest boy, they all had money off me here and there, watches and fucking Cartier watches and all sorts. Peddled them when they needed a few quid when I was in prison.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I wouldn't have had that money if I wasn't a known money getter, straight money getter, of putting business ideas together and making it work. So I am proud of myself in that, okay? I would just like to get there. I'm going to get rid of the products I've got on my show home site now. I'm going to move them on.
Yeah.
Excellent product. Now I've finished them. I'm then going to replace them with the newer model, which I thought the other model was wow, which it is.
This one's wow.
Wow, because it's got iron girders, steel RSJs across the floor. My floor was made out of low galvanised steel and knocked out 450, and it's built sections, so they join the sections together, so it's 7-foot sections joined together, 3 of them totaling 21 foot by 34 foot. But because it's built in sections as knocked out, it should be rock solid. Yeah. But it's not rock solid, because when the Turkish suppliers send it over, they didn't send the feet over to support it correctly.
Yeah.
You've got one here. So we think it's bouncing. Why is it bouncing? It's all still. Because we're 20 feet short. Send them over. Here we are 2 months later. So it's Christmas, still waiting for them. All right, so now I'm going to have to go legal with them to get them to send over the stuff they should have sent in the first instance. So I've learned by this. It's taken me a year to get to learn it, going and back, forward. But now I'm going to have it manufactured in England by a Turkish company.
Tier 1.
Tier 1 Turkish company that are supplying all around the world. They are excellent. It's called Askay, Askay. You might pronounce it a little bit different. Iskay. Yeah, your dad would say it properly,
he'd
don't
probably
he?
say
Yeah.
it proper
You're
village
just a
style.
Cockney Turk.
Proper, that's exactly right. I'm a fake Turk.
No, you're not a fake Turk.
I'm a fake Turk.
So I say to
promise
people,
you.
I'm a Cockney jock.
Okay.
Because my dad's Scottish, but I'm a Cockney.
Yeah.
So you're a Cockney Turk, aren't you?
A fake Turk.
No, you're not. Don't say that,
I
Mikey.
can't speak the language.
Well, so what? You're still Turkish. Is your mum
Yeah.
Turkish?
Dad is. Mom's Greek. Dad's Turkish.
All right. So what would they call that? You're not a Persian. So if you was Indian,
I'm a
and
fucking
you'd be
cocktail.
Persian.
I don't know. The
Would you say
Greek.
you're a porn star martini.
Definitely not Paul Star Martini. The Greeks and the Turks are in war with each other. They hate each other.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? They are
And
actually. Yeah, I forgot about
I'm
that.
sitting there, and people ask, "What are you, Greek or Turkish?" Like, and when I tell a Turk, I'm like, to a Turkish person, I'm Turkish. To a Greek person, I'm Greek.
Yeah.
So I play the best of both worlds.
It's great though how you see your mum and dad together from
Yeah.
different cultures and they're at war. Same as in Ireland.
Yeah.
You got Protestant and Catholic. Yeah, they're married in it all the time, but they're still at war. It's mad.
It's stupidness.
It's mad.
It's a
isn't it?
conversation for another fucking.
But you meet someone and you fall in love with them, it all goes out the window,
Don't
doesn't
give a
it?
shit where they're from. You
Exactly
couldn't give
that.
a shit where they're from.
But we don't want to go into stuff like that. I accept that.
Well, listen, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
So I'd like to just say that I don't just. There's a lot more to me than what I'm doing at the moment. So I never realised, and I never used to shout about it, but I do a lot for mental health, men's health, and that was just through talking to people, Mikey, who messaged me, and people who are 5,000 strong members and they're too scared to jump and so on and so forth like that. There's a lot of people who don't realise what I do. I do charity work on a Monday. I've been doing that for well over a year. And I do that because I enjoy it. I don't do it because I want the recognition for it. I might be talking about it now, but people need to understand there's a bit more substance to me than what the violent side of things. That's in me naturally to do that. I'm not in it because I want to get recognition from it and I want people to go, oh, he's a nice lad, he's doing this. It's not just the prison side of me. I could stop my charity work tomorrow if I wanted, but I won't. And anybody who knows me, I'll say, no, I'm doing my charity work. Yeah. I did a podcast with Raphael Rowe on Monday, Second Chance, and that was in London. I had to get back to do my podcast. I was at my charity work, but I was late getting there by half hour, but I still went. There's that sort of stuff that I do that people have no idea about. And I will drop everything to go and support someone, whether it's driving to Huddleford, so I can be with them when they have their cancer MIR. There's a bit more to me than what people think. And if they look into my background...
And is that all written up in your book?
The charity work's not, but there is stuff in there that will make people go, wow. It's not all about prison. It's eloquently set out. It's just under 5 stars on
And
Amazon.
for people wanting to buy the book, where can they buy it?
Amazon, Fitted Up and Fighting Back website, Waterstones online. There's so many producers.
If you send me a link, I'll put one in the thing so that if anyone from here watching this does want to get the book, just click the link in the description and you'll be able to grab the book.
Selling loads. I think yesterday we posted, or the day before, it was 15 in one day. That's what I sold off of my website. It's without Waterstones and such. I think did 1,000 books on Amazon. Was it 1,000? Was it? Might have been 100. Lose the figures.
One is more than enough.
Yeah.
You're moving them. One person's getting that book and one person's being inspired. That's the way I look at it. People say to me, how many views do you want on YouTube? I say, listen, as long as it inspires one person and someone learns something from our podcast, I'm happy.
Yeah, so
I don't care. As much, I know it's hard to say, and we're all here for one reason. We all want to make money. We all want success, but it's success. But when you get messages, I get messages, oh my God, I watched your podcast with this person. It was so inspirational, learned so much. I'm like, fuck me, man, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
that is
good.
very good.
Money don't bring that happiness like that. I was like, proud of that shit, man. Good.
You should be, and that's exactly that. So what I send a lot of books into people in prison, not to spread the word about the people that put me away, but they're normally from my nephew or my son or in prison. I say, well, listen, send them this book. They get some strength from this book to see what I've been through. They can understand where I've been, and it may help them. And that's the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think that wraps it up. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Hey, you'd wrap me up, you old cage fight, wouldn't you, if you had a chance? I know you would. I'd end up in a bleeding... No, Origani's a book of sex moves. That's not the one you should be doing, but have a look at it. It might give you a few new moves.
Probably. Might fucking do. I've probably done them all anyway, but it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure, Mikey. Thank you.
We'll definitely be meeting up again soon.
I'd love that. Yes, thank you.
And make sure you pop down to the restaurant when you're free.
I'd love to come here. It's very nice. Yeah, and of course, I love Turkish food.
Yeah, you might not like the Turkish people, but you definitely like the food.
I do love Turkish people. You
Yeah?
mustn't blanket punish people of that. Overall, I think I like people wherever they are in the world if they're decent.
100%.
End of.
Don't matter where they're from.
No, not at all.
Guys,
I've got a bloody Muslim girlfriend over there. She's half Iranian and half Muslim. So I don't care where you're from.
half
if you're all right.
Iranian, half Muslim. You mean she's Iranian and she's Muslim?
Yeah.
Guys,
Not that long, didn't I?
I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Kevin, thank you for coming on. I'll see you again soon.
Take care. And once again, Mikey, thank you for much, buddy. Cheers.